Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for February 5th, 2016. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss, with analysis for today's session. What we have here, obviously, we have the non-farm payrolls coming out very shortly here, and that is why we have very quiet overnight trading here. We're waiting for the number, and you likely will see expansion out of this range heading into the RTH session. One thing that we've talked about is the ability to the failed ability to hold above the HVN here, 1921. That price went offered, and when price returned to retest it in the previous session, it was defended. So that's telling us a little bit of where a key level is right here, 1921s. Obviously, 1939.5 is the major level. That's the midpoint of this range, and price is traded mostly in the lower distribution of that range. Any failure to hold, basically above 1846, that's the major last line of defense at that CLDN. That would likely spark a major significant decline. But I've mentioned this entire time that after this huge wave has developed, we're likely going to see a period of compression. That's what we're seeing now. So an expansion in either direction from this compression could spark the next major wave of movement above 1939.5. Will open up that continuation up toward 2007 and perhaps as high as 2071. So we have a shot here to go either way. Obviously, it's been well defended off the midpoint and the failure to hold above value, so that kind of hints at more weakness. But right now, inside this range right here, there's no edge. You have to wait until we see expansion, or you have to look to fade the edges of the range. Taking a look at the intraday time frame, heading into the non-farm payrolls, watch above 1915. And watch below 1897. That's the range right now where we're kind of coiling up. That range has significantly shrunken toward an apex as well. You can see kind of price going this way and this way. And now we're at that point where we could see some significant expansion, so watch that range closely. All right, let's take a look at crude oil. Here's crude oil in the daily time frame, very similar to what we saw in the ES here. We saw price attempt to hold above the midpoint of the key range here, 33.43, and went offered and rejected. When it came back to that point, it was redefended in the previous session, and price subsequently dropped lower. So right now, that's a pattern here that implies weakness. Again, we have a major swing move down, and we have price trading in the lower distribution of that range so far. This is a nice compression range right here. It's going to fuel the next phase of expansion, but until then, you could see more back and forth movement around this profile right here. On the edges here, this is where you'll see some fades or reversals back toward the mean. Once you get out to 29.25, you could see a move back up. So right now, this is the range to watch. Bulls are looking to defend and return. Bears are looking to defend and return here. Eventually, we'll see expansion out of this range, which could target the next major expansion targets outside that zone. So right now, bears defending 44.33. That could lead to a short-term move back down towards support. You want to look to play reversals within the range until expansion occurs. Let's drop down into the lower time frame. Looking at the lower time frame here, you see a very narrow range that's forming here. That's the range that we're going to want to watch. Basically, we have the top end about 32.40, the bottom end here at about 31.40. A breakout from that range is going to spark the next near-term move. You can see there's kind of clear air above this zone, and there's also clear air below this zone. So right now, overall, it's at the center of a key range here, and right now what we're looking for is expansion from this near-term range heading into the RTH open. So right here, got to see what happens above 32.40 and below 31.40. Let's take a look at gold. Gold continues to push higher in our favorite direction. We've been talking about this key range here and the expansion through the top of the range pointing to a 100% move into 1169s. So far, we've seen a major push higher. I mentioned the previous evening here that we're starting to see some major overdone ranges here. This range is way, way high compared to average. And when that happens, similar to this here, you could see a pullback ahead. So that's something to watch out. Once we hit a key target here, one of these targets, you may begin to see price pull back a little bit. Overall, this thing still seems poised to hit 1169. All right, taking a look at the NQ. Here's the NQ in a daily time frame. Price is still holding above the CLDN here, 40.72s. Bulls still want to defend that level for a push higher. Bears still defending everything above 4,300 for returns lower. So after this major swing move down here, this impulse move, we've seen price kind of compress here. And this compression phase, very similar to the ES and the NQ, will lead to significant expansion opportunities ahead. But until then, we're likely going to see further back and forth, so be careful here. Bulls want to keep this CLDN bid. Failure to hold 40.72 opens up a major wave of weakness below. Above 43.11s opens up a potential expansion opportunity back toward the meat of this previous range. Dropping into the lower time frame, obviously we have non-farm coming up, so we have a very tightly coiled range here as prices just kind of getting really nice and close to that apex. Eventually above 41.74 or below 41.30 offers expansion in the near term sense, so watch those ranges right there for a breakout opportunity heading into RTH. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this thing plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and happy Friday.